Alright, welcome back to the radio room. We're just going to do a rough and dirty video. I started working on this power supply earlier today. Just kicking back, working on it. Didn't know if I was going to do a video on it or not. Decided, I'll do it. But it's going to be quite a bit of work, and most of it's going to be off camera. But as you can see, I'm... okay, so this... well, it ain't right now, but I've already got quite a few pieces out of it. It's a Heathkit AC power supply. Model HP-23B. I'm going to do basically a component replacement on it. I've already got some stuff out. I started this out... I'm using a kit from Scotty's Sled Shed. Go to D-Lab's channel. He had Scotty's Sled Shed on his channel. I'm going over actually the exact same kit I'm putting in this one, and that you got to put these puppies together. There's some jumpers and some turrets, and these are actually pretty cool. These are going to replace the big caps. So here's the size of the original caps that are in there. Definitely a little smaller. But from what I understand, if you really want it to still look original, you can twist this off of here, this cardboard, and it'll fit right around this ring from, I believe, Will Everett's channel. He's actually going through and doing a lot of the work in here. So this is not going to be an instructional video by any means. If you want to see how that's going, all goes together, Will Everett, I believe it's Will Everett, on his channel, he has a very good video going over this deal, which actually popped up. I was looking at capacitor kits for this power supply and found the Scotty's Sled Shed component kit while I was doing a Google search, and it popped up a video, and I was like, well, let's see what this thing's all about. So really good video that Will Everett has on there, and D-Lab had what is this guy's call sign? Give me just a second. W8AOR.com if you want to look up these kits. Anyhow, this is going to be mostly a kind of dirty video, I guess you could say, not in the wrong way. I'm probably just going to come back in stages. I started out, I got these built and these capacitors mounted on these boards, and then I was going to start doing component by component changing out. I just decided, you know what, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to basically strip everything out of here. I'm not going to disconnect, like some of the switches and stuff any more than I have to. But I'm just going to get the components out of here, and then I'll rebuild the power supply from there. But I'm not going to do the whole thing on video. For one, I'm kicking back and just listening to some tunes in the background while I'm working on this, and that's what I want to do. But we'll come back, and probably once I get the rest of the components out here, I'll kind of show you what that looks like and what the plan is going back. It's got 4 big capacitors here. I want to get those replaced. I did test this power supply with a dim bulb tester and a variac. It didn't have any shorts in it. It had the momentary bright, and then right down to, nothing. Which is the way it should be. I didn't have anything hooked up to the power supply. I was just testing the different voltages, and they were right where they were supposed to be. So there was nothing wrong with the power supply. This is more of a, I just want to rebuild the power supply. This one right here is bulged up a little bit, so I don't know. I haven't looked inside of these. Let's look inside of these. Well, that one's out. wow, that that one's out. I want to get inside this thing and just kind of see what it looks like, because like I said, it looks like it's kind of bulged at the end. And seeing as how I don't know if I want to reuse these cardboards on top of my other ones, I'm going to take this out of here if I can't. Well, I still had a little bit of a voltage on it. I had a little bit of a spark there. I was turning the little tabs here so I can get the what's left of a dried up circuit board off of it. I'll see if I can get this out of here. Make sure this thing's still. Now, I did make sure everything was bled down and measured voltage on these before I just started playing with it. But these big capacitors like this sometimes can rebuild a little bit of charge on them. I'm gonna guess that's just the glue that was holding this on. That's all that was making it bulge up there. The top of the cap is just fine. I just put too much glue in it. Anyhow, so there's two capacitors out now. Well, anyhow, just going to, like I said, strip everything out of here. I do have a couple of these ground lugs. I want to clean them up a little bit. Put them back in. The kit actually came with some new ones. But I want to clean these up just in case I want to reuse them. If there's some way in there that I want to use them somewhere, or I can reuse them on. Reuse them in a different project. Get the solder out of them there. Like I said, I'm just going to kind of come back every once in a while for this video, show you the steps I've gotten. Like I said, not going to go through how to do a lot of this or anything like that. Just kind of show you what I'm doing. You know, I've already pulled one of the terminal strips out. These are the old resistors, and they don't look like they're in bad shape. Not burnt or anything like that. I could check the values on them. Let's see what they're supposed to be at. So this one should be, I think, 100 ohms, brown, black, red, and I dropped it. Let's see what it's at. Say brown, black, red. Should be 100 ohms. Or 1,000 ohms, I'm sorry. No, it's 957, so it hasn't gone up in value. Let's see what this one is. More than 2,000. $26.7. Red, violet, orange. Red, violet, orange. Should be a 27K. So that one's right as well. So those are both good. I'll pull them off of there. I'm going to put them on. I'm going to replace them with some new ones. When I got this kit, there's the deal right there. That's everything it came with. It does come with all new resistors and diodes to put in here. A little bit beefier diodes than what was in there, but other than that, I'll change the capacitors out. These are 150 at 450. I'm sorry, 150 at 450. And I'll get rid of these old ones in here. But like I said, I'm just going to probably come back here in just a little bit and kind of show you where I've got. I'll probably come back when I've got everything kind of pulled out of the case here. I probably won't remove the main transformer. I'll probably just leave it in there. Get it kind of wiped off and everything, get all the dust and everything out of it, clean up the bolts and stuff, and go from there. So, like I said, just wanted to stop in and kind of show you all that. We'll work on this for a little bit, and then I'll show you what it looks like when I got pretty much everything I'm going to take out of it. Alright, so we've got pretty much our clean slate to work with. Got all the capacitors out, terminal strips. Didn't completely remove this one. Didn't see any reason why I needed to remove all the wires. Got the switch and the breaker just kind of pushed out of the way. A few wires have to hook back up. Let's hope I remember how to put it all back together. Going to get in here and wipe all this down, get the dust out of it. Not a whole lot left. Got the choke out. Like I said, I got those caps out. I'll clean this all up. I don't think I'll pull the I might just drop the transformer out and get the dust out of underneath the bottom of it. It's just 4 nuts underneath there. Just drop it down enough I can wipe around it and get in here and everything. Give it a nice clean down a little bit. Did mark where the capacitors are, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's really important to make sure I put them back in the right spot. Some of them need to be grounded and some of them don't. Certain ways. Got the schematic here, and we'll use that, putting it back. That and some pictures I've taken. Get everything put it back the way it was. These will be obviously a little bit different as far as connecting to them. The original ones obviously just had tabs, ground, all this ground, and in the positive lead for the capacitor, and then the ones that were isolated, the grounds couldn't be grounded. So it's a little bit different as far as how things are going to mount. They'll basically mount on these turrets right here. Not too much of a problem. Like I said, I did take some pictures of this, and I'll probably throw a couple in right about here. And then we'll come back and I'll start working on this, and we'll probably come back and make a video kind of showing some of the stuff putting back together, and of course the final step in everything of having everything back in. And then we'll probably do at the end just some voltage tests on the plug. But just wanted to come back real quick and show you I got everything out, and then I'll start putting back on. I'm also going to clean these wires up just a little bit, straighten them out, resolder them, retin them maybe a little bit. They were obviously still got solder in them, but I don't want to start cutting them and just stripping them back. Some of them were a little close to where they needed to be, and yeah, I could make extensions on them, but these right here I definitely want to just kind of leave alone. Those are coming out of the transformer. So alright, we'll be back in a bit and hopefully have a lot of stuff packed in here. Power supply, everything's new. Got, new capacitors. You're looking at the bottom sides of those boards I mentioned earlier. New diodes, all new resistors down inside there. You can see a few of them down there. Get a little bit different view here. So everything's all new. Got some spaghetti tubing on some of the stuff just to kind of do some insulation and whatnot. So, and I think it's time to see if the darn thing's still going to work, which it should. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to hook this up and test it initially through my dim bulb tester in my Variac. I'll bring it up slowly, make sure the capacitors gets charged okay and everything, and then I'll put some stuff into the, we'll be testing everything right here. We'll be testing the high voltage. That one should be 750 to 800 volts. Low voltage positive. By low voltage, that's just because it's lower than that one. We'll check it in the 300 volts DC. That's what I'm going to need for the HW101. And we'll check the filament voltage and the bias voltage as well. We'll just probe in here to do that. So let me get this the power cord plugged into the dim bulb tester. Power's off. It's on current limit test. And in order to do this, I have to jumper AC switch and AC common. That's basically simulating the power switch in the radio that it would be hooked up to. Got that off, and we are going to I'm going to do a split screen here so we can watch the voltage on the let me do it this way. So right here, if you look up in the corner, right up there, if that goes real flashes and stays on, we've got a problem. I'm also going to set up for monitoring this, and I don't have enough cameras to do this. I'm going to use that as ground. I'm going to put this in my low voltage, or my low voltage. I'm also going to use my vacuum tube voltmeter because it's the only thing that goes above 600 volts. So it'll also be here. And we'll put it into the high voltage as well. So I've got high voltage, low voltage probed. Let me make sure I'm in my right hills. I'm at 600 volts on my digital multimeter, which will be checking for, we're going to go for the 300 volts DC to begin with. It's probably going to be closer to 350 without load. And we'll be looking for probably 750, 770-ish on the high voltage, maybe up to 800 volts. But we're going to bring it up slowly. So, got the jumper in. Got my probes in so I can watch everything. I'll just give you the readings as we go. Power's on. We're set at 0 volts. I'm going to turn the dim bulb tester on. I'm going to go ahead and turn the switch on the power supply. And hopefully as we bring the voltage up, these don't get very bright. So I'm going to start bringing the voltage up. Make sure that's all the way up. Okay. So no bulb action. We're at 10 volts. I've got 29 volts on the low voltage, and let's call it 65 on the high voltage. No bulb action, which is good. I'm seeing nothing on the power supply that looks weird. There's no arcing, no hissing, nothing like that. Let's go ahead and bring it up some more. Let's come up to about 50 volts on the variac. Nothing on the bulbs, that's good. 51 volts, I'm at 148 on the low voltage, and right around 325 on the high voltage, so that's coming up just fine. Nothing else going on with the power supply, not making no noises, no smells, no arcing, no nothing. Let's come up to about 90 volts. .93 volts on the variac. We got 268 on the low voltage, and just shy of 600 on the high voltage. I'll go ahead and bring this up to about 120. .121 volts on the main, on the variac, or yeah, the variac. No bulb burning, no smells, no nothing like that. We're at 750 on the high voltage and 342 on the low voltage. So that's good. I'm going to, since I'm not seeing anything drawing excessive current or anything like, I'm going to bypass and give it the full voltage. I am going to set this right at 120. And then I'm going to bypass the bulbs. That brings us up to, looks like about 775, 780 on the high voltage, 354 on the low voltage, which is good. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pull the high voltage probe out. And then we can check some other voltages as well. Alright, so let's see what we have as far as filament voltage. That's going to be AC, so I'll move over to AC. We've got filament common, and 12 volts right here. Looks like 13.8, which is right about where it ought to be. And then let's go to the negative, let's go to the bias voltage, which is going to be DC. Should be in the neighborhood of 130. Negative 134.6. So that's good. So from the looks of it, everything's working here. There is one other thing I'm going to try. I'm going to turn this off for a moment, let the capacitors bleed down just a little bit. I'm going to set this up and check the low voltage. Check the low voltage in the low voltage setting. 250 volts DC. I won't need it for the HW101, it'll just stay in the 300, but let's make sure the whole thing's working like it's supposed to. So looks like we've probably gotten down a little bit on bleeder resistors. I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to go ahead and put the back on, and I'm going to go back to current limit because I haven't tested this circuit yet. I'm going to leave the voltage where it's at. I'm pretty sure we're probably okay if anything's a problem. Now you should notice a flash on this when it turns it on. It's just going to be charging the capacitors up for a moment, and then it should dim right back down. They didn't come on like that before because we didn't have enough voltage to begin with. It brought the capacitors up slowly. Just like it's supposed to, and that gives us about 270. I'm going to go to bypass. About 280 volts on the low voltage side. So I'm going to say this is a success. Everything's working like it's supposed to. Let's take a look at the, I'm going to let this stuff bleed down just a little bit. Go ahead and shut some stuff off here. Let that voltage drop down some. And then we'll just kind of take a look at it. I still need to clean the case and stuff. This one right here is go ahead and take these off. This one's a standalone. You can get the same power supply with the speaker, and it's mounted in the speaker. When it's mounted in the speaker, it doesn't have a cage over the top of it. This is a standalone. It does have a cage that goes over the top of it, which I still need to clean up. So looks like it's going to work okay. Got the new capacitors in there, a lot smaller than the ones that were in there before. And I don't think I'm going to put the cardboard over the top of this. I like the looks of that. You're not going to see much of it anyhow once the cage is on there, which is just, you know, a cage. You know, it's just, of course I have to put the bottom on. It needs to be cleaned up a little bit, mostly just dust and stuff, but I think we're in good shape here. Definitely took my time on this. I wouldn't always recommend doing it the way I would do it if you're rebuilding a power supply or something. I was, like I said, I had mentioned before, I was going to go through and do one component at a time, swapping stuff out. Well, that doesn't work when you change out these. Things mount differently on the bottom. These just had 4 tabs and you had a positive. These guys here, you have turrets and stuff, so things don't quite go exactly the same way. But I started over here and was going to start working on that, and okay, well then I need to get this out of the way. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to strip the whole thing out. Basically, the only thing that was left was a couple wires hooked to the switch and the breaker, the connector, and the transformer. I'd even removed the choke that's on the bias supply. Just got it out of the way. Got in there and then remounted these. Got everything done. Took my time. Went basically didn't even really use the instructions that came with the kit. They're not bad. They got some kind of decent pictures and stuff in them. But this thing goes for the HP-23A, B, C, or the PS-23. It'll work on all of them. There's little variations in them. Looks like they probably did an HP-23A because it does have the adjustable bias. And by the way, there are 2 extra parts. Those are literally those 2. If you had an HP-23A or just an regular HP-23, it has the adjustable bias. That's what these were. They're literally those 2 resistors. This does not have that in there. It's a fixed bias. So I got extra parts. The directions aren't bad. They'll get you through it in a pinch. There's a few things in there that kind of contradict each other. For one, when you put the turrets on here, if you read through the written directions, it says to put a turret in the positive and the negative on all the discs. That you don't do that. You don't put them in, I think, any of the negative positions. And if you do, you'll have to remove them because you're going to need them in other spots. When you go to the picture, it tells you you're not putting them in there. So I was flipping right through the pages, and I mean, I'd looked through the deal, but okay, this is just a picture of what the directions said. So I had to go back and change a few things. So the directions aren't bad. You can get through it if you know what they're talking about. He was doing it step by step, component by component, and you remove one capacitor, work on that, then do this. I just wanted everything out of the way. So the directions that were in here don't really work when you strip everything out of there. So I just went off the schematic. Just went through there and made sure what was hooked where is right. And then when I got done, I went through and looked at every solder joint, every diode, every capacitor, every resistor, and made sure it was running where it needed to run in case I made a mistake. And I'm glad I did. Because when I was working on the thing, 99% of the time I had it sitting like this. I was looking at the bottom. And when I had put the capacitors onto these boards, before I'd even started tearing this thing apart, I got one backwards. In fact, it was this one right here. So, like I said, this thing's been upside down. Even when I picked them up, I never turned this over. I just stuck it in there, from the bottom, which was the top, down, pushed it up in there, got the bolts, and then tightened it down. Well, after I got done, I was looking at my negatives. Now, mind you, these two kind of mirror each other, so, the negative should be over there, and then the negative should be over there. Well, this one was the other way around, and it was just an oddball. I'm like, well, there's no way that can happen. That's after I had everything put together. Everything back in there. The breaker, the switch, all the wires already ran. I had to solder down through here to get down there. So that was some very close soldering right there, and got that capacitor flipped around, which is a good thing I did. You don't want a backwards electrolytic capacitor, especially a bigger one like that. My camera probably would have been wearing guts if I'd had this thing sitting right underneath it when I turned it on. So I think we're good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll clean the bottom cover. I'm gonna clean up the top cover, put it all back together, and this will be ready for when I get to the point of, after doing a little bit of work on the HW101, I'm going to do some recapping on it. Need to change the O-ring bands on it, and then we'll mate this to that. I also need to do a little work on the cord. It's kind of coming out, the cord's pulling out of the plug, and hopefully I'll get the HW101 going before long as well. But I wanted to start with the power supply. I'll see if I can find some older pictures that I took at the bottom here when everything was in there, and we'll kind of have a before and after at the end of this video. But thanks for stopping by the radio room. This was just a kind of a weekend project I wanted to work on between doing everything else, normal on the weekend, get in here when I could. And originally I wasn't going to do a video on it. It was just going to be sit back, put some music on, and work on it. But I wanted to share a little bit. So, there wasn't a whole lot of work done in the video, but hopefully y'all can see a revamped HP-23B. Thanks for stopping by the radio room. We'll see you next time.